Hey good looking, welcome back to the channel. Today we will be looking to see how close the Biba, Natasha Denona Biba palette is to the Fairytale Forest palette from Lorac. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, please make sure you subscribe and stick around because this looks like it's going to be good. I know a few of you guys picked up the Lorac Fairytale Forest palette. Thank you so much for using my link. Even if you are interested in purchasing a palette and you don't want to use my link, or say you want to use Rakuten, just clicking on the links below in my description box helps me to know that you are in fact interested. I do pay attention to those metrics along with all of the other metrics that are associated with YouTube and my affiliate links. So thanks so much for helping me out. And I want you to know that your clicking and your supporting my channel does not go unnoticed. And that's why, that is the purpose of this video. We've got the Fairytale Forest palette. Many of you guys have purchased it or have shown interest in it. And I want to see how close it is to the Biba palette. A lot of you have told me in the past that you were interested in the Biba palette but could never fathom spending that money. And I started to look at these two palettes and I started to see that some of the mattes look very similar, and as well as a couple of the shimmers. So let's go ahead and get started seeing which shadows mimic each other. The first one that I do want to look at is, I think it was Buff, and then this shade right here. Let me just go ahead and, there we go, Redwood. And I'll give you guys swatches, and then if I can get them to look similar. Not really. On the viewfinder, it doesn't look terrible. It doesn't really look that good either. I'm going to get this in view here. That's not really the one. That's definitely not either. Those two, would those be similar? Not really. I wonder if Freckle and this one would be close. Ooh, those look close. Let's swatch them. I would say those are, but the undertones aren't the same. This one's warm and this one's probably more neutral. I'm going to go ahead and grab it and then put it close to it. I should probably pop these out with my little pin, shouldn't I? Did I scar it? Not really. Alright, there's a little pin. In fact, I'm going to go get that key just so I can start using that to pop these out. Got it. Next up. So I think it's pretty safe to say that Birch and Tusk are probably fairly close. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think on the eye they would look very similar. Actually, folks, this is a little bit creamier, a little bit finer powder, but this isn't far behind. Considering the price difference, I really feel like it's not very far behind. Let's go ahead and pop that puppy out. And that can go for Tusk. All right. Next, believe it or not, I kind of felt like this one right here, which is Pine, is similar to Shine. So here we are. See it? You see it. I know you do. Oh, but look at them. They do swatch fairly different. Okay, so this is Shine and this is Pine. Which one's which? Okay. This one's Pine. So this one is Pine, this one's Shine. So this right here is a sparkler shade. It's not going to look very similar. Definitely not very close in formulation. You know, if I had to give it to, I would say like this is a rosy, you know, peachy. This one right here, although I wouldn't use these the same on the face. I'll tell you why. This one right here could go all over like the first 2/3 of the lid, whereas this would almost be a one and done shade because there's enough saturation. That's a duochrome, isn't it? Yeah. Ooh, actually. This one here. What was I thinking? Okay, I think this one's gonna have to take it. This one right here and this one. On camera they look fairly similar. I will say that you can definitely tell the difference in formulation. But I'm gonna have to give Camarabre to Shine. Alright, the next one is Monroe. And I just want to check to make sure that there's none that are like, yeah, there's really nothing like it. I wonder if I should just choose this one in place of this one to be similar, you know, like similar enough, and then go ahead and change Pine. Is that Pine? Yes, it is, with Monroe, because it's fairly similar. Because this one's just a little bit darker and it's a little bit more saturated. But if I had to say, like, this would have to be duping both of them. So this one right here is, oh, this one's Pine, excuse me. Comrabre is the one that's going to go in place of Monroe. That's why I just, like, have to set everything out, because just believe me when I say that. Oh, where's my makeup wipe? I've been using this makeup wipe, and I gotta say, it is so stinking rough on my hands. I do notice that these right here, I mean, this is about the coolest you're gonna get in the Fairytale, so I feel like it could probably go in place of Sculpture, or maybe Tour. Yeah, I think it's gonna go in place of Tour. Those two. Oops. Those two right there. On camera, they don't look too bad. This one has more of a gray pink, and this one has like a yellow undertone. But for the sake of getting the Fairytale Forest palette and looking at similarities, I would say they're fairly similar. Oops. This one right here, what does it look like? This one has to be for like buff or tone. This is a cream to powder, so maybe it would go with tone. How about buff? That's still quite red. What about cocoa? I think cocoa is probably fairly similar. Actually, those two look fairly similar. That's kind of weird because, oh, what about this one? Is that the one that goes? Yeah, that's either going to be rayon or seed. So let's go ahead and pop this one out for cocoa. I don't have any of those labeled. That would be difficult to label the backs of those. These things are only like ½ an inch wide, I think it is. So Sculpture and then Mushroom. Ooh, actually they're not too far apart. Well, I say that now, look at them. Not very similar. Not very similar at all. Well, that one doesn't even like swatch. Okay, then we've got this one right here. I just love filming this. Like, look at how ADHD I get with all this. Okay, so we've got Woodland, and then we've got Seed. That's pretty close. I also want to look at Rayon real quick. This is cream to powder. I would have to say probably use these more closely. This one I could almost deepen up a crease with, but these would probably deepen up the outer V, so I'm going to use these two similarly. So I think Seed is going to have to be what Woodland closely resembles. Hopefully it's working okay and you guys can hear me all right. Yeah, and it does look fairly similar when you look at them in the pan. Okay, so we've got 7 of the 15 shades, so we probably need Rustic. I actually thought that Wildflower kind of looked similar to Rustic, in the sense that, like, you know, yes, it's more burgundy purple and this is more copper, but I don't know, can you squint? Could you say, like, hey, if I was using this palette, you would use this shade in the Fairytale Forest? Or would I say, you know, because actually tone wise these two are more similar, but their finishes are different. So do I go with the finish that's more similar, or do I go with the shade that's more similar? I think I'm going to go with the finish that's more similar, because generally speaking, finishes you tend to use for the same purpose even though the color is slightly different. All right, so Wildflower. It's gonna go with Rustic. And then, I don't know, I kind of felt like Mushroom and Sculpture were, I don't know. This is weird. Why don't these two have, they almost dupe each other. Yeah, there's just really, there's not any darker shades in there. This shade right here, does that look like the Shine shade? I don't know. Not really. Again, this is much more saturated than this. This is just a very unique shade. It's very pretty though. Okay, so you see we've got about, if I do my math, almost 50%. Like, I'd have to get 8 and I'd be slightly over 50, so I'm slightly under 50% probably. I think you could probably use, you know, Mushroom with Sculpture, and, you know, then I would be over 50% of the palette, but I'm not sure if some of you would be very happy with that. Yeah, those two are same depth, same tone, different shades. So, I mean, but again, you would probably use these very similarly in a look. So, do you need the Natasha Denona Biba palette? No. I think using these two shades in your, these two shades, one's a cream to powder, one is a creamy matte, probably not going to have, you know, like, I don't think it's really going to matter which one you use. This cocoa shade right here, these could probably double as both of them maybe. I could be speaking, you know, like, I could be squinting a little too much. Again, this shade right here could go in place of Freckle and Prairie maybe. Also, if you were on the Lorac kick, you could also have the Soleil palette. And that has actually quite a few more shades that I feel like I think almost all of the mattes that are present in this palette are available here, sans these cool tones right here. And the black. You don't get a black in either the Fairytale or the Soleil. Some people need a black. I'm not really one of those people that feels like I need a black in a palette, as long as I got a really, 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 really dark, ultra dark brown, or a dark charcoal gray brown, or blue brown, or a blue black. Then I feel like I'm fine. Just want to kind of show you, like, this shade right here, which is Cinnamon, is fairly close to Nectar. You know, somewhat. Maybe this is the one that I was looking at. Yeah, these two right here. So this is actually the shade Morocco, is very close to Prairie. Like, to the point that, like, I probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference in the swatches. I would pull this out, but I'm afraid I'm going to really lose it. Then you've got this dark brown that can sit in for Seed. You've got these two shades right here that are going to be Pasha, Buff, and Tone worthy. You've got some light shades that are going to go in for Tusk, and maybe perhaps Freckle. I'm not sure. No, not really, but I bet you've never seen a swatch party done like that. But you see right there, this is probably more geared to dupe the vibes of the Natasha Denona Biba the BB palette, the Biba palette, just because it's warm toned in nature. This is more of a warm tone neutral palette than this. This is more like your neutrals. And also, I think these shadows right here more closely resemble some of those shimmers that are present here. There's only 3: Rustic, Monroe, and Shine. The rest are creamy mattes. I don't realize that. I've used this palette just a handful of times. You can see here these are well loved. So there is definitely a lot more stronger affinity towards the Lorac. I have had them a little bit longer, but just will say that. Then you have some different formulas present. So you've got these sparkle shades right here, which is very similar to Natasha Denona's in her gold, her chroma crystal. I mean, this is more of a neutral palette. Plus it has this pop of green. It has a duochrome. It is shimmer heavier. This has only got 3. So if you're looking for a matte palette, heavy on the matte palette. I mean, you've got a 50% matte here. This is like 10 shimmers to, what would it be? 8 mattes and then 10 shimmers. So, you know, it's a little bit heavier on the mattes than it is. I don't really know where some of these go now. Anyways, there you go. You can see here what we've got. I hope you guys are enjoying this. If you're finding value in this content, as always, please subscribe down to my channel below. Let me know if you picked up the Fairytale Forest palette or if it was on your list, but you know, like, I'd love to know. And do you feel compelled to pick up the Biba because you like neutral shadow palettes? I know I have a strong affinity towards neutral palettes, so I like, give me all the neutral palettes, right? And I can have this shadow 20 times over, and I probably do, to be honest with you. But do I want the next neutral palette? Absolutely. And that's some people's preferences. Some people are like that with rainbow palettes. Every single rainbow palette that comes out, they have to have it. But do they want the next rainbow palette? Absolutely. So if you're that type of person, also make sure you let me know down in the comments below. I can't wait to see you guys in my next video. Bye.